Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. How's it going, all you Minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for my overview of the Birthright Deluxe Edition, Book 1 from Image Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. One of my most anticipated releases of 2024. I have been waiting a decade for this book. Birthright, Book 1. And let me tell you, as soon as I got it, cracked it open, cover to cover, I read the entire thing because up until this point, I had only read the first trade paperback. So I'll explain a little bit about that here in a second. Let's look at this beautiful book. You have this faux leather look to it with the embossed Birthright there. And it's got that gold tone to it. There we go. I don't know if it's doing it just... There we go, so you can see it by the light. Book 1, of course, this is the first half of the story. And you have Williamson, Bressan, and Lucas there, taking the top billing. And you have the Image logo, Uncanny Omar talk pretty one day. Image logo, Birthright, Joshua Williamson, Andrei Bressan, and Adriano Lucas, and one right there. And then the back of the book, hero or villain, what is your destiny? It's all about choice, right? What it collects, the ISBN, and then the Skybound logo, and the Image logo. And this is another book that is a flat spine. We'll look at the binding here in a little bit. But I do love this gold look. It looks like a beautiful coffee table book. Just absolutely gorgeous. So I am going to crack this book open. We're going to talk about the stories found in here, or the type of stories that are collected in here, what this is. I'll give you the pitch, and then, of course, tell you why I've waited 10 years for this book. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's go ahead and get this beautiful book open. You have your end sheets right there, the title page, Birthright by Joshua Williamson and Andrei Bressan. And then your credits, Joshua Williamson, Andrei Bressan. They are credited as the creators and also, of course, the writer and artist. Adriano Lucas is the colorist. Pat Brozzo is the letterer. Then, of course, the editor of the book and then the design of the actual book right there. I love when they do that, including the logo design. There is a foreword here, or rather an introduction by Joshua Williamson. Not really giving you a hint as to what this story is about, but more so the behind the scenes of how it came about, how the pitch went, and what changed with the story, and who added what, whose idea was it to add another character. Okay, so I'm going to give you the non-spoilery pitch, because I do love this series, and then I'll talk a little bit about why I waited so long to read it, and then I'll give you the one of the big spoilers in here that I think is a good hook. All right, so the non-spoilery part is we do meet this family. This is the Rhodes family, and you have the father here. This is Aaron. He's just playing catch with his son. It's a very stereotypical thing that you do. This is Michael. They all call him Mikey. Then you have the mom there getting ready for the birthday party. This is Wendy, and then their other son, Brennan. Now, as they're playing catch, Aaron throws the ball into the woods, and he's on the phone with Wendy, and he's like, wait, something's going on. Brennan should have been back by now. Where is he? And she's freaking out. She's like, what are you talking about? Quit joking around. Where's my boy? Now, anybody that has kids or even pets, like, any few seconds that something doesn't feel right and you have them missing for a little bit, like I know this happened to us in the zoo, I think this happens to just about every parent, just the worst of all thoughts come to you, and the fear of fears just drowns your freaking brain, because that's what happens when you're responsible for these kids. And sure enough, Mikey goes missing, and it is awful. They called the authorities, and they put up flyers. For some reason, Mikey went into the woods trying to find this ball. Aaron finds the baseball, but he can't find Mikey. So you'll see some time pass through here. They go see therapy. They see police officers. Eventually, about a year passes by, and at this point, the family is just destroyed. Brennan is fighting people at school because they keep calling his dad a child killer. So society themselves, including Wendy, this is so messed up. The wife blames Aaron for losing Mikey, and starts thinking because of an officer here and a couple of other police officers that are putting thoughts into the family's brain that maybe perhaps Aaron did have something to do with the disappearance of Mikey. Now, Wendy and Aaron's relationship just falls apart, and a year goes by, and Brandon is, like I said, fighting people in school because they keep saying, look, man, you're depressing everybody. Quit hanging your brother's flyers up. We all know your dad killed him. Now, as a year goes by, you start seeing just the family become separated. And they get called by the police because the police have somebody in question that might have something to do with the disappearance of Mikey. And it's this rugged man right here with a beard and wearing armor. And they're like, what's going on? And Brooks, the police officer, pretty much tells them that, hey, this man claims to be your missing son, Mikey. He says he knows everything about you all. He said he's been fighting in another land, and he has come back to be reunited with you all. That is where the mystery begins. By the way, I even forgot to talk about this. This collects the first 25 issues. It's a 50-issue, wonderful series. 592 pages and retailing for $59.99. Forgot to talk about what is collected in here. But at the police station, he begins to tell him how he got lost. And what ends up happening is that he didn't really get lost. He got taken because he was running away from this creature, and he got taken by these winged creatures, these winged humanoids that are known as the Gideons. And what they do is they end up taking him to another world. He meets Rook there, he meets Raya there, and he gets to go to this world called Tyrannos. And in Tyrannos, the reason he is taken there is because there is a prophecy that Mikey is the hero that will save them from the God King Lord that is destroying this entire world. And he cannot go home until he has fulfilled that prophecy. So Mikey, as a little kid, says, I just want to go home, which is what you do, right? As a little kid, you just want to go home and see your mom and dad. So we are introduced to this fantasy world where Mikey is transported to, and he's following this ogre, he's following the Gideons, there's a princess here, and eventually what he says is, that he does grow up, and time time is a little bit different over there. It goes by a lot faster than here because only a year has passed. Now, as the family is here, they're hearing this story, and they're like, what? And then, so the question is asked, so what are you doing back here? He's like, well, I fulfilled my prophecy. I have killed the God King Lore, and I have come back to my realm, my earth, to try to find 5 war criminals that escaped from Tyrannos, because they are guilty of betraying Tyrannos, and they are threatening this earth and Tyrannos as well, so they have to be stopped. And he wants to be reunited with his family. So that is what's going on through here. That is the pitch of the story. We get to see the weapons, and then we get to see the family deal with this. Like, do they believe this man? And of course, it's a very stereotypical beginning. Like, they don't really believe him. He wants to break out of this jail because he has a mission. He has to go and kill these 5 war criminals before they take over this world, and then eventually go back to Tyrannos. And then what happened to the folks in Tyrannos like Rook and Raya? And we get to see the other creatures, or the other folks that work for the King God. And for example, this right here is Callista. She's kind of his right-hand witch, as she calls herself, and we get to find out about the 5 war criminals that escaped from Tyrannos. Now it's up to the family to either help their son or, not believe him and say that he's crazy. Well, like the father, Aaron, feels guilt for losing him. So of course he wants to believe him. So questions are asked. So that's what this is. It is about this guy that claims to be their son coming back here to hunt the remaining war criminals that escaped from Tyrannos before they take over this earth and before they go back to Tyrannos and destroy their world. And through these pages, you find out what happened to Raya, what happened to Rook, and there are a lot of twists and turns, but that's all I will say. It is a sword and sorcery type of story, but set on Earth, and then a lot of different fantasy creatures show up through here, and broken up into just 5 chapters in this book, because you have the first 25 issues. So do you believe Mikey, or is he just a crazy man? That's the big thing here. So at the very beginning, I mentioned that this book had taken me 10 years to finally read. It just came out, so not necessarily this book, but the story took me 10 years to finally get to read. I read the first trade paperback, I think it was like 10 years ago, maybe even 11 years ago, and I fell in love with it. I was like, oh, I love the story about this guy that went to another world, or he was a kid and comes back as an adult. This is so cool. And what is the destiny, right? Like, what does one choose? Well, I decided, I was like, Image has been doing a lot of hardcovers. I'm thinking this book is going to be really popular. I'm going to wait until there's a hardcover release. And then time passes by, right? I see a lot of my viewers comment on my videos. They're like, hey, have you read Birthright? I was like, yeah, there was a standard size hardcover. I think it was a comic book or maybe a Comic Con exclusive release. It was standard size for just volume 1. So like the first 5 issues. But I knew one day the story's too good. The art is so good, and it really pops, and it's in your face, and the character designs are just awesome. It really feels like a movie I would have loved as a kid, or a TV show I would have loved as a kid. Surely they were going to come out with a hardcover, and yes, fast forward 10 years, I saw this at the beginning of the year. This is when this was in the catalog, and I was like, yes, finally. I waited so long. I didn't read any of the other trades. Yeah, I'm like that. I did the same thing with, was it Manifest Destiny? So I'm glad I did, because, yeah, Williamson just knocks it out of the park. All right, before we talk about the spoiler pitch, let's look in the back for the extras, the back matter. So you get the sketchbook here of the characters, the main characters here. Like, that's the God King lore. And a little bit of the page layout, character designs, and then you get the textless covers here. So you get all the main covers. So the way the book is done, it's very skyboundy. And what I mean by that is you have the whole story broken up into chapters, 5 chapters, meaning 5 issues per chapter. And then you have the actual covers here. Then you get the variant covers in the back. Again, textless, like this one's here by Mark Silvestri. You have a Daniel Warren Johnson, a James Stokoe. And you actually have the connecting covers. By the way, don't get too excited. This was just one of the Image things that they were doing. Negan killing all these characters from across the Image world. And then connecting covers here. Again, 592 pages. Look at the binding here. Sewn binding, printed in this thick, glossy paper stock. So it lays over really nice. I didn't have any issues with any kind of gutter loss. All right, I'm going to give you the spoilery pitch. I think this is the good hook. It happens at the end of issue 1, but just in case, you didn't want to know, you're like, oh, I like fantasy, I like mystery, I want to get it, and I like Joshua Williamson because I'm a big fan of what he did on Flash, or Cobra Commander, on Superman, or G.I. Joe right now. So, or you're a fan of the artist, Andrei Bressan. Yeah, go for it. All right, the pitch. So I mentioned Mikey going into Toronto's and then coming back. However, he is lying to everybody, because he is possessed by something called a Nevermind. And as you find out what the Nevermind is, it is a deal that has been done between him and the God King lore. He was defeated. The prophecy did not come true. You find out that he was actually defeated by the God King lore and now is working for him. And he is here to kill not 5 war criminals, but to kill 5 mages. And these mages are holding these gates in control to go in between Toronto's and Earth. So every time a mage is killed, these gates weaken, and the people from Toronto's, including eventually God King lore, can come across and claim these lands here on Earth. And now you find out that he's working for him. There's a couple of other surprises I don't want to get too much into. Like, what is his brother's role? Brennan. Because I find that interesting because Robert Kirkman said, hey, why don't you create another character named Brennan? And at first, Joshua Williamson was like, no, not really. What are you talking about? Wait, why would I do that? And it was really cool because he plays a huge important part. And the whole idea behind the name Birthright is whoever has the birthright is the one that can travel across worlds, Tyrannos and Earth. And there's few people that have that birthright. We do see what happens to Raya. She does play a huge part in this. We do have an adult Raya that comes here. But to me, what really got me, this is a beautiful story about father and sons. It is a beautiful connection about that. Wendy plays a strong part in this, but at first, she doesn't really believe everything. Whereas the father immediately believes, this is my son, and I am never losing him again. I did it once, and I have this whole guilt about losing him, and that's never going to happen again. Brennan plays the role of the older brother, and now having to lead this barbarian. There's a lot of throwbacks to like Conan through here too. But I absolutely love the story here. I thought it's probably going to make it into one of my favorite reads of the year. A lot more twists and turns that I don't want to get into because I want people to be genuinely surprised. But that is the spoilery pitch that now Brennan and Wendy and Aaron have to deal with perhaps this guy being a villain and coming here to enslave everybody. And what's going to happen when he runs into adult Raya here because they had a little connection. Sure, there was a princess he was supposed to marry in that world, but no, it's not who he ended up marrying. Or who he ended up, well, you'll see. But 592 pages, a wonderful freaking story. Not just about sword and sorcery, but also a family. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this deluxe edition, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltzcomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this deluxe edition. Let me know in the comments down below if you've never read Birthright and you're going into it completely blind because you're a fan of either Joshua Williamson or the type of book this is, this deluxe edition hardcover, or Andrei Bressan. If you have any questions, leave them down below. What you think of the story, if you've read it, and if you cannot wait for Volume 2 to finish out the series. Let me know all those questions down below. Smash that like button on the way out. Everybody stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.